Hey everyone, and welcome to RUBIN'S Mind Lab, where we break down the latest research into what it really means. Ever wonder if your personality truly fits your job? If a perfect match makes you happier and keeps you from job hopping? Well, this new study digs into just that. We all know that what we do for a living takes up a huge chunk of our lives. So it makes sense to think that our jobs should somehow line up with who we are, right? This study looks at the big 5 personality traits, that's extroversion, agreeableness, conscientiousness, emotional stability, and openness, and explores how well these traits match the demands of our jobs. They wanted to see if this personality job fit actually makes us feel better, keeps us in our jobs longer, and how it all changes as we get older. Think about it. If you are super outgoing, a job as a salesperson or an event planner might feel amazing. But if you are more of a quiet, thoughtful person, maybe a job as an archivist or a writer would be a better fit. This is the basic idea behind person-environment fit. The researchers here wanted to test 3 main ideas about this fit with our jobs. First, they wondered if being a good fit feels good, like it makes us happy. Second, they thought that if we feel like we don't fit, we'd try to change our jobs to find a better match. And third, they figured that this fit probably changes over time, especially as we go through our careers. So, how did they check all this? They looked at a massive amount of data from over 30,000 working adults in Germany. This is great because it means the results are likely to apply to lots of different people in many different kinds of jobs. Instead of just asking people if they felt they fit their job, they took a more scientific approach. They had people rate their own big 5 personality traits. And then they had experts rate what personality traits were actually needed for those specific jobs. They called this job-demanded personality. They then compared the person's personality to the job's demands. This is called an indirect, multiple source approach, which helps avoid some of the biases that can creep in when you just ask people how they feel. They looked at how people's personality matched the demands for each of the big 5 traits, except for conscientiousness, which had some measurement issues in this study. They used something called polynomial regression and response surface analysis. Don't let that scare you. Think of it as a super detailed way to see if the sweet spot for happiness and job stability is when your personality and your job's demands are a perfect match, or if things are a bit more complicated. They wanted to see if being a perfect match was best, or if being close enough was also good for things like job satisfaction, life satisfaction, and feeling happy or sad. So, what did they find? For the first question about whether being a good personality job fit makes you happier, the answer is surprisingly not really, at least when it comes to a perfect match. They didn't find strong evidence that having your personality perfectly match your job's demands led to higher job satisfaction, life satisfaction, or more positive feelings and less negative feelings. It seems like that exact perfect fit isn't the magic ticket to happiness we might have thought. What about the idea that we leave jobs that don't fit us? Again, the results were a bit mixed. They didn't find that having a perfect personality job fit made people significantly less likely to change jobs. This is a bit different from some other studies that look at job fit in general. It suggests that maybe with personality specifically, the exact match isn't the main driver of whether someone stays or goes. However, they did find some interesting interaction. For example, people who were more extroverted, meaning outgoing, were less likely to change jobs when their job also demanded high extroversion. This makes sense. If your job calls for your natural tendencies, you are probably more likely to stick around. The same pattern was seen for openness. So while a perfect match wasn't the key, having your personality traits be relevant to your job seemed to matter. This is where things get really interesting. When they looked at how personality job fit changes over time, they found that it actually improves as people get older and progress in their careers. This suggests that fit isn't fixed. People either actively seek out jobs that fit them better, or they change over time to better match their jobs. Or maybe a combination of both. Specifically, they saw that for some traits like emotional stability, the fit increased steadily throughout a person's working life. For other traits like extroversion and openness, the fit followed a sort of U-shape, meaning it increased, maybe leveled off, and then increased again. Overall, when they looked at personality job fit across all the big 5 traits together, there was a slight but consistent increase as people got older. This is a really important finding because it shows that finding your place in your career is a journey, and for many people it gets better over time rather than worse. So, what does all this mean for us? Well, it seems that while that exact perfect alignment between your personality and your job's demands might not be the secret sauce for immediate happiness or job stability, the overall picture is more complex. It is not about a perfect match, but more about the general configuration. For instance, Being extroverted or open seems to help you feel better and stay in your job longer when those traits are actually used at work. And the good news is that for many people, this fit tends to get better over their careers. This is super important for career counselors and for anyone thinking about their next career move. It is not just about skills, but about how your core personality traits interact with what your job asks of you. Now, like all studies, this one has its limits. They couldn't look at conscientiousness as closely because of some measurement issues. Also, they looked at job demands at a broad occupational level. In reality, a psychologist doing therapy might have different demands than a psychologist doing research, even though they have the same job title. So, fit could be different within the same job category. And while they use really advanced math like polynomial regression to understand fit, that doesn't tell us everything. Sometimes being close enough to a perfect fit might be just as good or even better in some cases than an exact match. But the practical implications are still huge. For employers, it means thinking about how different personalities can express themselves in their jobs. For individuals, it is about understanding that your career is a process. If you feel a bit of a misfit now, that doesn't mean it is forever. You might find ways to shape your job, or your career path might naturally lead you to roles that fit you better over time. It also highlights the value of older workers, especially in traits like emotional stability, which seem to get better aligned with job demands as people age. In conclusion, this study showed that personality job fit isn't about squeezing yourself into a perfect mold. It is more about how your personality broadly aligns with what your job asks of you, and that this alignment tends to improve as we move through our careers. Future research could explore different ways to define fit and look at how specific personality traits interact with different job characteristics and even different workplace cultures. What do you think about these findings? Does your job bring out your personality traits? Let me know in the comments below, and if you enjoyed this dive into personality and careers, be sure to like this video and subscribe to RUBIN'S Mind Lab for more Science Simplified. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.